Hello, I'm Owen Ellis, and today my talk titled Electric Hovercraft, or as I'd prefer it, A Quiet Revolution. I will focus on the application of electric motors in the design, construction and testing of our new craft, the Revtech Revolution. This is a logical follow-on from Keith Oakley's excellent presentation about noise generation and his Q-craft. Keith has always been an inspiration to me, and I think we are very fortunate to have someone of Keith's calibre in our international hovercraft community. Now, an explanation about Revtech. This is a small design and development company that I partner with Clinton Buckwell in Australia. We often refer to it as our favourite charity. For over 20 years, we have used it as a vehicle for advancing personal hovercraft design through technological innovation. Now on to the revolution. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so let the video speak for itself. Now, before I move on, I'll go back into my background. I got interested in hovercraft when I was first at school, and in 1968 I built my first hovercraft with the help of my science teacher, whose husband was also a fan engineer. The craft had a steel frame with a plywood and aluminium covering. We used 2 motorcycle engines, and it even included 4 multi-wing fans. They had only just been released at the time. From school I went into the aircraft industry, got interested in motorcycle racing. After a few years I lost interest in that and returned to hovercraft. I went to the UK in 74, 75 and spent a year finding out the latest trends in small hovercraft design. I returned to Australia in 76 and built my first fiberglass craft. Formed a company, Hoverjet, and made a series of small craft for the next 6 years. In the early 80s, I changed direction and built a single engine integrated craft that is lift and thrust with a segmented skirt. In 83, I formed a company partnered with Paul Moody to form Turbo Hovercraft. We designed the Turbo Wedge, the Turbo Super Wedge. As an example, in 88, the company was quite successful. In 88, we sold over 100 kits. We also developed a fiberglass version, the Vortex, and did some composite work on a craft we called the CST. Following that, we sold the company in 1990, and I formed another company in the early 90s with Clinton Buckwell, Revtech, designed a craft, the Revtech Rocket. In 2000 we changed configuration and converted it to a Renegade and made a series of versions of that. Now onto the subject, electric. The question is why? And of course the reason is lots of benefits. Some of these benefits, the obvious one is that it's quiet. That's critical for the wide acceptance of personal hovercraft. It generally does enhance a magic carpet ride. They're mechanically simple. That provides greater reliability and durability, and that greater reliability means safer operation for the craft. The motors are also smooth, so that will mean simpler motor mounting. They're cool running. You can say goodbye to radiators and hot exhausts. They're compact. That improves the aerodynamics for the airflow in and out of the fan. They have high torque characteristics that can eliminate the need for potential transmission assemblies. They're lightweight. That has an added benefit of increasing stability due to a low centre of gravity. They're highly efficient, which likely offsets the weight of the next problem, batteries. So the downside, batteries, the weight is high. That's due to the low energy density when compared to liquid fuel. The good news is that's improving at approximately 7% a year. The cost is still high, but again, good news, that's reducing at a rapid rate. An example I put here is that they've reduced almost 90% in the last 10 years. Now moving on to the revolution, or as we call it, the evolution of the revolution. In 2010, I was introduced to the benefits of lightweight electric motors and battery systems. Just while I make an adjustment here. I'll start that again. I was introduced to the benefits of lightweight electric motors and battery systems as used in radio-controlled models. That started me on some research and information gathering. By 2013, I built one of our Revtech Renegades as a test and evaluation platform. It was altered to incorporate an electrically driven centrifugal fan for lift mounted at the front of the craft, and the power system was modified for thrust only. We also took the opportunity to do some upgrades on the duct design. Over the next 5 years, we did a lot of testing and evaluation of suitable electric motors, controllers, and battery systems. Here's an example of bench testing a centrifugal fan. Electrical motor. There's a large lithium-ion battery pack. Note for the smooth running of the motor and the clean intake. All that mechanical complexity that we see in that photograph was ultimately condensed down to fit into the battery pack that we see on the right-hand side. This is a battery pack made by Emax in Sydney. It's a full marinised battery pack, IP67 rated. So after all this testing, by early 2019 we had the craft operating successfully and reliably. Here's an example of the craft doing an overhump start. We've added an extra passenger, Christine in this case, to see its performance of stopping and getting over hump. You notice lift power will be increased, the craft's moving up, thrust is added, increasing more lift, and the craft effortlessly accelerates over the hump. This particular craft is actually heavier than a standard craft because it's a development platform. Now moving on to design and construction of the actual craft. The initial design was done by Paul Moody on SolidWorks. He sent that information to Clint. The plywood panels were, the MDF panels machined on a 3-axis computer-controlled mill by Clint. And here's the panels being delivered by Paul, admiring Clint's handiwork. So those panels now are assembled into the modules. Now the craft is starting to take shape. You can see we've positioned the centrifugal lift fan, determining the driving position. We've sourced a couple of milk crates for a temporary seat, and we've added the thrust duct just for some reference. This is a photograph of Paul and myself. It's interesting, after 40 years, the dreaming never stops. Okay, a few more photographs. This shows reader testing or checking out the driving position. Centre picture, just a few more parts added. The right-hand side, you can see we've used styrofoam for mocking up the shape of the front. Notice the lift fan buried in there. The black plastic tube is to simulate the inflated fabric panel that we use for air delivery for the lift system. A nice aerial view of the craft with Mark and Christine, our friends from Ottawa in Canada. Mark was a great asset during a flying visit in doing the final testing of the hybrid Renegade. Now moving from mock-up to prototype construction. After we made the fiberglass moulds, Rev and myself vacuum bagged these forward and aft modules. Just for your interest, once you've got everything prepared, you can do the layup and have it under vacuum in less than 2 hours on each one. The good news is they fitted. Just incidentally on the right hand side, what's left of the original mock-up centre module. Now the two separate pieces were bonded, the two whole modules were bonded together. The removable side bodies are bolted in place. You'll note the lower skirt attach hooks and the lift system attached studs. On the right hand side is a centrifugal fan sitting on the floor. Here's some detail of the centrifugal fan, the position of it. The fan, as it says here, is a centrifugal fan with a backward curved fluted blades. These are aerofoil shaped blades. The fan is made from composite material, and our experience shows it's extremely robust. We've done a couple of tests where we've sucked in items on about 3 occasions and the fan handles it quite well. The view on the right hand side just shows the brushless DC motor. Here the hull's inverted with showing the forward skirt attach impact panel, that's the one in the red. And if you were to zoom in on this, you'll note that the weight of a lot of these parts are written on there. An example is the forward side body weighs 3.1 kilograms. The side body behind it weighs 4.1. That hull as it sits there is less than 40 kilograms. Here we've got the lift fan, the thrust duct and the seat compartment added to the craft. Here's an example of the centrifugal lift fan running. Now, the Kohler thrust engine's been added, the air delivery panels have been fitted and the fuel tank fitted. On the right hand side you can see the engine compartment. The engine air for cooling and operation is filtered via the seat compartment. These photos just give some detail of how protected the lift fan inlet is, and there's a design concept on the other side. Here's a size comparison with the Revolution in the foreground, the IQX in the centre, and our little scaled mini electric Sparky on top. Moving on to operation of the craft. Well, first flight, this is in our Hover studio. This took place about 8 weeks after we started construction, so we're surprised at our progress here. This, of course, is always a very exciting time to find out how the craft works. You'll note Sparky suspended from the ceiling, inverted there, out of the way. Obviously, it's good to be able to start up a hovercraft inside a workshop and hover it out without any real fuss. Now, here's Rita on her first flight. Rita had done a lot of operation on hovercraft, but she'd never driven a hovercraft with a separate lift system. Note how we can still have a conversation even though the craft is sitting on full lift. She's wondering why it's not going anywhere.
We've got to start the thrust motor, you're not going to go anywhere.
A moment of realisation.
Hey, away you go. Oh, goodbye, Rita Crispy.
Here's Clint's first drive. I would make some comments, but I've decided to refrain from doing so. Here's an example of being stationary on water, i.e. floating on the water, in startup. The green screen displays the voltage on the top left-hand side with power consumption in watts underneath. It's currently showing 50 volts, and now wattage is increasing. First thing we do with this is we bring it up on hover to about 600 watts, which is less than 1 horsepower. It's surprising how little power you need in an electric lift system.
600, it will sit on.
And by bringing it up to about 600 watts, we drain any water out of the skirt. Just looking around now just to show that there's no spray. It's a very civilised manoeuvre. Now the power will be increased to bring it up to full cushion. Lowering it back down. So even on full cushion we're only at just over about 1/4 horsepower. It will start the thrust engine. The power is set at about 700 watts. Increase power, add a little bit more lift. And the craft is up and away. Effortless. Here we are on approach back to the studio. Wet lack of spray. And a nice smooth transition. Here's a great example of operating on rough water. Rita was so busy filming here that she almost fell out of the craft. These conditions are great for tests. How much water and spray that we can get into this system. There's virtually none. In fact, there is not virtually, there is none. The motor, the lift motor stays completely dry. It, by the way, always runs very cool. And we don't see any corrosion in it at all. We did quite a lot of operation in these conditions. What you don't see is that the craft is on almost full thrust because we've got about 20-25 knot wind coming from the right hand side. Surprising how well it handles those conditions. A little bit more testing. Paul Hibbard has popped down from Singapore, which he does once a year. He's been a great resource over the years for a lot of aeronautical information. You can see he's still polishing his skills in driving hovercraft. We think if he keeps practicing, he might even have some potential as an F1 hovercraft racer. Time will tell. Now here's Rita taking her friends out for a little cruise. Watch the craft pop up. Just waiting for a hovercraft to move out the way. Start the thrust motor. And quietly move away. Not even with 3 people on, there's still room on that speed. Here's Rita returning to base. Not much to say about that, but another quiet approach. Now moving on to electric thrust development. This is our contra-rotating thrust system. We're using brushless DC outrunner motors. This particular motor is a 9 kilowatt motor. Interestingly enough, it weighs less than 2 kilograms. The first thing we did was built a fan duct. You can see the fixture in the background that we bent styrofoam with grooved styrofoam around, bonded it together with epoxy resin, shaped it, carved it down. This is preparation for vacuum bagging carbon fibre and glass fibre, which produces an extremely strong lightweight structure. Here now we've got the two brushless DC motors mounted in it, not one on the forward and aft. As it says there, 1 metre carbon fibre propellers. Note the extremely low tip clearance. Because of the smooth running of the motor, you can achieve very low tip clearances. Obviously the right hand view is prior to fitting the rotors and elevators. Now, we then fitted this whole assembly to our old Renegade Hybrid to use it as a research and development platform. I might point out that that whole rear thrust assembly, that is the duct, the propellers, the motors, the controllers, the support structure, weighs around 18 kilograms. Here's an initial test of the front motor. The rear motor was not connected. The rear propeller will start to spin.
This is now running probably
Bit of the airflow.
200 watts.
Now
The indicator at the moment.
later in the video I'll accelerate and show some acceleration
Rear motor.
tests on the motor.
Going to start to rotate.
Very smooth
The
running.
sound coming because we're inside a garage and it's echoing a lot. I'll accelerate the engine to show how quickly the motor will accelerate.
The key Bakley benefit that is the wolf on the front of the bell mount. Relatively straight, a little bit of curve. And for all those that are going to ask me, we're expecting probably about 70 kilograms of thrust from this. The end, well, we actually think it's just the beginning. Because the future, in my opinion, is electric craft. And here's a good example. This is my 4-year-old grandson. First time out in our little mini electric. The next generation on electric hovercraft. Now note how manoeuvrable it is, completely lack of spray. This uses 2 electric motors from battery powered lawnmower. It's got a fairly high-tech mixed flow fan for lift and an 800mm carbon fibre propeller. Now just a few details about the Revolution. The craft is a 3-place personal amphibious hovercraft. The dimensions 12'8" long by 7'2" wide by 4'10" high. The empty weight is 210 kilograms and the nominal payload is 280 kilograms. Just a couple of features of the platform. It's a modular design with a kit overlay. The kit overlay essentially means that it's designed for kit presentation. for shipping. It uses lightweight, high-strength Kevlar epoxy foam sandwich composite throughout the construction. The primary structure is a centre hull module. It has highly durable impact wear resistant panels on the underhull. It has removable buoyancy tank side bodies. There's a forward skirt attached panel with a PM response panel attached. And the air delivery fabric panels are inflated with cushion air. Allows for easy access. The skirt system is an extended segment with forward pH pressure diaphragms. The lift system, 5 kilowatt brushless DC outrunner electric motor, direct driving a 500mm high efficiency centrifugal fan. A 5 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack powers the system. By the way, we're not using any power from our internal combustion thrust engine. The thrust system, that's a Kohler 750cc fuel injected V-twin 4-stroke. We use the Revtech modular, modular shouldn't have been in there. It's a Revtech rear drive that uses a 3-blade 1100mm axial fan. Control is via 6 Aerofoil rudders and 2 electrically powered elevators. Future thrust systems, that'll be a 9. We're going to use 2 9 kilowatt brushless DC electric outrunner motors. That'll be direct driving 1 metre diameter contra-rotating carbon fibre propellers. Or we'll use a single 20 kilowatt brushless DC electric outrunner motor, direct driving a 1200mm diameter 3 or 4 bladed propulsor, which is either a propeller or a fan. That will be powered by a marine grade 15 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack. So that concludes my talk on electric hovercraft. Thank you for your attention.